Okay, listen up. I don't care if it's a Monday after homecoming or not. I've wasted enough time, kids, so we got to kind of get rolling. So get your mindset perfect. I want to finish this Roger Staubach thing, and at the end of this video, I want you to turn in with your name on it. I told you to write down 5 good qualities about Roger Staubach that were in the video. So you'll need to turn that in when we're done. For those kids that are gone that should be watching this video tonight, theirs will be due at the start of the period tomorrow. So if you are not here, kids, make sure you get on this video tonight and make sure you write down 5 good attributes that show that Roger Staubach is a good guy, and turn those in tomorrow. After we get done with this, I'm going to pass out your raffle tickets and talk to you just a little bit about how that position is going to go. I do want you to know this. Anna Lopez transferred in here last year under some tough circumstances that really were not her fault. Got set up, I think, in a good situation now, is doing real well, and I promised her last year, she was in my U.S. history class last year, I could not put her in this class because she had not completed United States history, because she did not get the first half done in wherever she was, Colorado. So I told her as long as she had an A or B in this class, in that class of Mr. Blanchard's at semester, we would bring her in at semester. So I just want you guys to know that. I've made preparations for that. She's going to have to raise money just like everybody else and has agreed to do that. So Anna will be joining us second semester, which I think is good for us and good for her. And so, considering she meets that criteria I put out, but I'm pretty sure she will. So if you're kind of wondering what's going on there, that's what the situation is. And I'm pretty pleased to have her have the opportunity, especially under the circumstances that brought her back here, which is the greatest thing that happened to us and to her, that she came back rather than stay where she was at. So anyway, she'll be joining us this semester, and all arrangements have been made for her, so it isn't any different as far as cost-wise or anything for you. Okay? All right, well, let's watch the rest of this. Make sure you're writing down some good things. The thing I like about this part is it tells what Roger Staubach did after he retired, and I think you'll be quite impressed with him in general after his retirement. Here we go.
In 2 Super Bowls, a brilliant run that came to an abrupt end after the 1979 season.
I had 6 times when I had concussions where I was knocked out, and I had 2 concussions that year.
How long can you take that until it starts to pay a price on you?
I really worried about that, and I saw this Dr. Fred Plum up in New York. He said, you know, you're okay in your CAT scan, Roger, but you've had too many. So that my records will show that I advise you to retire.
Holy cow, I can't believe this. I am a nervous wreck.
I didn't want him to retire. You know, he's my quarterback. You know, he'd probably still be playing if Coach Landry let him call his plays, you know.
Coach Landry really never tried to talk me into staying. He knew that concussions were worrisome. He also knew that he had Danny White.
The system was successful before me, and it'll be successful without me. Of course, the nuts and bolts of the Dallas Cowboys is a man who wears a funny hat on the sidelines.
It was sad to see him go. Sad to see him go. He made the game against them worth playing.
America's team rolled on without Captain America, going to 3 straight NFC championships, but they lost all 3. Tom Landry never did win a Super Bowl without Roger Staubach. In April of 2014, Staubach ran with the Bulls. When we returned, the greatest run of his life. In 2013, Jennifer Staubach Gates ran for Dallas City Council. She's a Staubach, so she won. Many assumed that after her father's playing days were over, he'd venture into politics.
If I needed a job, I might have got into politics. But
before he retired from the NFL, Staubach began a career in real estate, and he eventually started his own company.
Heart and soul of what we're doing basically is the service side.
His first client said to Roger, I love you as a quarterback, I respect you as a person, but Roger, this is business. And Roger says, I understand that. And I'll tell you what, if after we do the work and you're not satisfied, you don't have to pay me. Now, if you want to give me a bonus because I'm going to do better than you anticipate, that's your call.
Roger's been blessed, but it's not by accident Roger's had success. He worked his tail off. You got to study and you got to learn. You got to know it better than everybody else. And he did as a player, and he did when he got off the field in the business world.
We need to do it, so I'll get it done.
He's an icon in the commercial real estate industry the same way he was an icon in the National Football League. We grew from one office in Dallas to 30 plus offices around the U.S., Mexico, Canada by the time we sold the company in 2007. Staubach sold his company to Jones Lang LaSalle for more than $600 million. Today, he serves as executive chairman at JLL. But there are still some who wish he'd trade his corner office for the Oval Office.
Oh, yeah. I'd vote for him. I would help him. I don't know how much money I would give him.
I think he would have been elected for any post he ran for.
I'm surprised he didn't, and I think our country's lesser for the fact that he didn't.
He could have been president of the United States.
For Roger to be in politics, he's such a black and white guy, and you need to make so many compromises that I think he would just eventually feel total frustration with the process.
Staubach never made that run into politics, but in a football life defined by amazing runs, one was unquestionably the most important.
The touchdown run he made against Assumption in the 8th grade.
I was running kickoff back against Assumption, and she was a cheerleader running down the sideline, so I'm going to marry that girl. So, I did, actually. So,
the football star and the cheerleader became king and queen of the prom. And 5 decades ago, they married.
Sometimes your kid like, well, were you really nervous the day we got married? I said, no, this is what I wanted. I knew that's what I wanted for my life.
I know I would get married again. To her.
They love each other. They love being around each other.
I think it's the greatest gift they gave the 5 of us. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about football, and that's a big part of our life, but that's not our life, you know? Our life is them. And I think it's such a wonderful example as we go through our marriages, you know? You don't quit, and you're committed, and you love your children unconditionally.
Staubach's gifts and his unconditional love were not limited to his family.
He just really believes that people are innately good. With this little help, maybe, then everything's going to be better for them. And if he can do that, then he's going to do it.
James, who in Scripture, he wasn't a coach or anything, he was a Scripture person, said you show your faith through your works, and I've tried to adhere to that.
And he does it without any fanfare. That's why I don't know how many guys have come to him, because he never brags about it. You know, Roger offered me an opportunity to come work in his company. You know, and I said, well, Raj, you know, I think that's a great gesture. I appreciate that, but I want to start my own business. I want to do my own thing. And guess who was the first person to invest in that business? Didn't even know what it was.
He was there for me after my husband died. We started PPA marketing. He helped me start that. I had a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old at the time. He wanted to make sure I had something to help raise them, get them through college and all the rest.
I was coaching at the University of Oregon, and I lost my 18-year-old son. He died in his sleep. We never found out why he died. I was brain dead, completely brain dead. And Roger called me when he found that I was going to move back to Dallas. And he said, you got an office? And he gave me a salary. And he said, you don't even have to come in. You know, and he saved my life.
He saved my life. Yeah, my darkest hour was in a drug rehab, 1983. No money, addicted to crack, contemplating suicide. I called him. He said, you know, the drug screwed you up, Thomas. He said, but you're a good guy. You've always been a good guy. And I didn't know that I was a good guy at that moment. I've been sober 30 years, and I give a lot of that credit to Roger Staubach. I love Roger. He's a friend of mine.
He's
everything that people think that he is, and that's rare. Roger's held to such a lofty standard that it would be hard for anyone to be able to live up to that, but you know, he does.
If you were to pick the prototype great American citizen, I would say that's Roger Staubach.
I think that Roger Staubach should have the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I mean, this is a guy you can go to war with. This is a guy you can win with, who is moral, practices his faith religiously. This is some special person.
He's the finest person I've ever known in my life.
The kind of person you'd want your children to look up to in every way. And there's so few of those people in life in general, but in sports in particular. And I try to teach my children about him now. I mean, there's some folks who are, I think, similar, but there's only one Roger Staubach.
Who's your favorite cowboy?
Oh, Roger Staubach, definitely.
People are starved for heroes. I think Roger is a person that they look to and see and say, you know, here's a person that didn't have to, but did. I think that's what keeps that star burning so brightly and will continue for many, many years.
Roger Staubach has worn the star and played the part of one without seeking the fame that comes with it for more than 50 years.
Staubach, hit Pearson, what you believe in?
But perhaps he shines brightest when he's surrounded by the points of light he loves the most.
Okay, I want to make a few points. You know, we talk about a lot of things in life, and it's a class on history, but I really do believe that we have a responsibility as educators to talk about good people. You know, he's a sports guy. I know that. Not everybody's into sports, but this guy is a good guy. And this is a guy, like they said, that you'd want your kids to get to know. He'd be a guy you'd want to call if you had issues. You know, even when he retired, and this might be in your notes, what did he do during his retirement? Did you notice anything during his retirement speech, something he did, again, where he gave credit to others? Who did he talk about in his retirement?
His coach.
His coach. He talked about his coach. He didn't talk about himself. And he said that the Dallas Cowboys would continue without him. Coach Landry, I don't know what you know about Tom Landry, but Tom Landry is a very stoic, serious man. He was the first football coach to use computers, and he analyzed the data, and he kept track of how many times the team ran to the left or ran to the right or passed or whatever. He was the first one to ever do that in the 60s when computers were hardly even brought about. So he's a very intelligent guy. He's a very unemotional guy. But he, like Mrs. Staubach said, he sat with her when Roger had his surgery. And when you get inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you get to choose who you have induct you. Who do you get to have the person to induct you? And that's who Roger Staubach chose, was Tom Landry. Did they get along all the time? Did they agree all the time? No, but he knew what the deal was. How about a guy that buys a company and he offers the investors not even to pay money for it if it doesn't work, and he sells it for $600 million. Is that incredible? That shocked me more than anything when I first watched this. I had no idea that Roger Staubach had $600 million. You'd never know, by talking to him or knowing anything about it. It was kind of interesting because the politics part I thought was interesting too, and the historic part is that I think he could have ran for any political office he wanted to and be elected. That's how popular he was. But you notice one of his friends said he probably wouldn't have been very successful in politics. Why? Too black and white. Yeah, he had too much right and wrong, and he probably wouldn't have made it. You look at the kids and the point they make about what an example the parents made in marriages. Marriage is a difficult thing. Not to give you a lecture on that, but the thing in my life that I'm proudest of is that my wife and I have been married 35 years. My daughter-in-law and my daughter-in-law's parents for my youngest son's marriage have been married 35 years, and my other daughter-in-law and my oldest son's marriage have been 35 years. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. So, you know, before you decide to commit yourself into marriage, make sure it's a long-term thing and make sure you're a good example for people. You figured out the fellow Charlie Waters that lost his son, and Roger Staubach helped him. Thomas Hollywood Henderson, the other fellow that had the drug problem, he was quite a story in himself. He won the lottery twice. That guy that had the cocaine habit won a lottery twice. And how did he end up? Broke. He won the lottery twice, that guy did. And he ended up with no money, and Roger Staubach probably did save his life. You know, he talks about a lot of other things. He talks about friends and family. You know, I always try to tell kids this. You always wonder what the definition of a good friend is. And I would say that the definition of a good friend is someone that's happy when you succeed. In other words, if something happens good to you, a person that's really a good friend is going to be happy that happened to you. And do you think Roger Staubach, if he was your friend, would be happy if something happened to you? And that's just kind of another suggestion I'd give you, is that if you're going to befriend somebody and be a good friend, make sure you follow the rule of thumb that if that friend of yours did something really good or successful, that you would be happy for them. He also mentioned the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That is the highest award that any civilian can receive by the President of the United States. And I agree with that guy. I can't think of a guy that probably should not receive that Medal of Freedom. He's done so much. He made a comment that I usually give at the end of the year, but I'll give you a little you know, I've been in this business 35 years. And he made a comment, somebody made a comment that Roger Staubach would be the type of person that you'd want your children to look up to. What I've always told my students over the years is that you hope you make a positive impact enough on a kid that when you grow up and get married and you have kids, that my goal would be that you kids would come up and want my kids to meet, or you would want your kids to meet me. That's a big thing. That's what I try to emphasize. I hope I make an impact on you during the course of this class, that someday when you get married and have kids, that you'll be happy to let me meet your kids. That's kind of my goal, and that's what he's saying there. So the point I'm making is that, you know, it's okay to be a good person. Do you think Roger Staubach took some heat in his life for being so good and doing the right things? I'm sure he did. But did he ever waver from his convictions on that? He really never did. And so he's a perfect example of someone that has done things right, and I think we can all learn a lot. And it's okay, kids. You guys are all in here because you're good kids, you're honors kids, but it's okay to be a good kid. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. And you can be a good kid under many, many different circumstances. So just plan on being a good person. Like I said, when you go to college with your parents and you ask your parents what they want you to be, what they really want you to be is a good person, whatever you do. So that's my lecture for today. Again, if you'd pass those forward, please, those things that you wrote down. And those students that aren't here today, make sure you watch this video and hand that in to start of the period tomorrow, please.